Your puppy froze at the end of the driveway, ears too big for its head, one paw lifted, staring at a trash bin like it was a wolf. You waited. You coaxed. You maybe even tugged the leash a little because it was just a trash bin and you had places to be. And in that small moment, that tiny, forgettable moment, something happened that most people never notice. Your puppy learned something about the world. Not the lesson you wanted, the lesson its nervous system decided to take. Here's the thing about the socialization window that almost nobody explains correctly. You've probably heard the number 16 weeks, 12 weeks, some magic cutoff where the door slams shut and whatever your puppy has become is who your puppy stays. That's not the truth, not the whole truth. And the misunderstanding of that one idea has created more reactive German Shepherds than almost anything else I can think of. Because here's what happens. Someone hears socialize before 16 weeks and they panic. They start dragging their puppy everywhere. Busy markets, loud festivals, dog parks full of strange dogs, crowds of strangers reaching down with grabbing hands. They think more is better. They think exposure is the goal. They think if the puppy sees enough of the world fast enough, the world will stop being scary. And they're doing damage with the best intentions in the world. By the end of this, you're going to understand what the socialization window actually is, what it's actually for, and why the way most people use it creates the exact reactive dog they were trying to prevent. This is the thing people learn too late. Let's make sure you're not one of them. Right now, maybe you have a young puppy and you're worried you're already behind. Maybe you have an adolescent shepherd who used to be fine and now barks at everything. Maybe you're looking back, wondering if you missed your window, wondering if you ruined your dog. You didn't ruin your dog. But you need to understand what really happened. And you need to understand it without the guilt and without the myths. Because both of those get in the way of actually helping your German Shepherd. Let me tell you what most people think reactivity is. They think it's a bad dog, a stubborn dog, a dominant dog who needs to be shown who's boss. Or they swing the other way and decide their dog is just broken, just anxious, just wired wrong from birth, and nothing can be done. Almost none of that is accurate. A reactive German Shepherd is usually a dog whose nervous system learned the wrong lessons about what's safe and what isn't. And a huge chunk of those lessons get written in the first few months of life, during the exact window everyone talks about, but almost nobody understands. You feel the cost of this every single day. You feel it in your shoulder before your dog even reacts. That little tightening because you saw the other dog first. You feel it in the leash, the way it goes taut in your hand a half second before the explosion. You feel it when you cross the street for the third time on one walk. When you apologize to a stranger. When you start walking at night just to avoid everyone. When your stomach drops at the sight of a dog 2 blocks away. That's not the life you pictured when you brought home that fuzzy, oversized eared puppy. So let's fix the understanding first, because you can't fix the behavior until you understand where it came from. Here's the first truth, and it's the one that reframes everything. The socialization window is not a checklist. It's a nervous system calibration period. Let me explain what that actually means, because this is where everyone goes wrong. People treat socialization like a scavenger hunt. Expose the puppy to 100 different things before 16 weeks. Men in hats, umbrellas, bicycles, vacuum cleaners, children, other dogs, loud trucks. Check, check, check. As if the goal is quantity. As if the puppy just needs to see enough stuff and it'll be fine. But that's not what the window does. The socialization window is the period where your puppy's brain is deciding, permanently, deeply, what the baseline of the world feels like. Is the world a safe place where new things are usually fine? Or is the world an unpredictable place where new things are usually threats? Your puppy isn't cataloging objects. Your puppy is forming an emotional relationship with novelty itself. That's the whole game. Novelty. New things. Your German Shepherd puppy is learning, at a level deeper than memory, whether new means interesting or whether new means danger. And here's what that means in practice. A puppy who calmly watched a skateboard roll by from 30 feet away, felt safe, and then went about its day. That puppy learned new things are no big deal. A puppy who got rushed by a skateboarder at close range, felt cornered, and had no way to escape. That puppy learned, the world ambushes me and I need to be ready. Same object, skateboard, two completely opposite lessons. That's why quantity is the wrong measurement. It was never about how many things your puppy saw. It was about how your puppy felt while seeing them. Now listen closely. A German Shepherd puppy is not a blank slate. This is a breed built for awareness, built to notice, built to care about what changes in the environment. That sensitivity is a feature, not a flaw. It's what makes this breed extraordinary. But it also means your puppy is paying closer attention to the emotional tone of every early experience than a mellower breed might. So when you drag that puppy into a chaotic environment, thinking you're doing socialization, and the puppy freezes, tucks, tries to hide behind your legs, you're not building confidence. You're teaching your future working dog that overwhelming situations are exactly as bad as its instincts suspected. That's the hard truth. The window isn't for collecting experiences. It's for collecting safe experiences. And a bad experience during this window can do more harm than no experience at all. Which brings me straight to the second truth. More exposure is not more socialization. I need you to really sit with this one, because it's the opposite of what nearly everyone believes. Exposure just means your dog was near something. Socialization means your dog learned to feel okay about it. Those are not the same thing. They are barely even related. Picture the classic scene. New puppy owner, full of excitement, takes the 12-week-old German Shepherd to a busy outdoor market on a Saturday. Crowds, noise, food smells, strangers everywhere. And people love a shepherd puppy, so hands are reaching down constantly, grabbing, petting, faces looming in. The owner thinks this is a socialization goldmine. Look at all this exposure. But watch the puppy. Ears pinned back, tail low, body pressed against the owner's ankle, trying to shrink, maybe a little tremble, taking treats frantically or refusing them completely, both signs of a nervous system that's flooded. That puppy is not being socialized. That puppy is being overwhelmed. And every minute it stays in that state, it's learning that crowds mean pressure, strangers mean grabbing, and its owner won't protect it from either. That sounds small. It is not. Because here's what happens next. That puppy grows. 6 months. 8 months. Now it's an adolescent. Bigger, stronger, and suddenly full of opinions. And one day, a stranger reaches down to pet it, and instead of shrinking, it barks. Hard. Lunges. Snaps the air. And the owner is stunned. He used to love people. What happened? Nothing happened suddenly. That reaction was written months ago in a crowded market when a scared puppy learned that strangers take without asking and nobody had its back. It just didn't have the size or the confidence to say no back then. Now it does. Here's what nobody tells you. Real socialization often looks boring. It looks like your puppy sitting calmly on a bench beside you, 40 feet from the busy sidewalk, watching the world go by and eating little pieces of chicken. Not meeting anyone, not touching anything, just observing, safe, relaxed, deciding that the world is fine from a comfortable distance. That quiet bench does more for your German Shepherd than an hour of frantic petting in a crowd ever could. Socialization is not about your puppy touching the world. It's about your puppy watching the world and concluding that it's safe. Face-first contact is not the goal. Emotional safety is the goal. A German Shepherd does not need to meet the world face-first. It needs to learn that it can exist near the world without being overwhelmed by it. That's the second truth. Now let me show you something about distance that changes how you walk your dog forever. Distance is information. This is the third truth, and once you understand it, you'll never look at a walk the same way again. Every trigger in your puppy's world, every dog, every stranger, every loud truck, every fluttering flag, has a distance at which your puppy feels safe, and a distance at which your puppy feels threatened. The space between those 2 points is where all the learning happens. And the space where it feels threatened is where all the damage happens. Let me make this concrete. Say there's a dog across the street. At 60 feet, your puppy notices it, glances, and is totally fine. At 40 feet, your puppy is a little more alert, but still okay. At 20 feet, your puppy stiffens. At 10 feet, your puppy starts to lose it. Barking, pulling, unable to look away. That gradient is not random. Those distances are telling you exactly what your puppy can and cannot handle right now. Distance is information. Your puppy is speaking to you through space. But here's what most people do. They don't read the distance. They walk their puppy straight down the sidewalk, right past the other dog at 8 feet, because that's just where the sidewalk goes. And the puppy tips over the edge, barks, lunges, and the owner corrects the puppy for barking. Now sit with what actually just happened. You put your puppy at a distance it couldn't handle. Its nervous system flooded, and then you punished it for having a nervous system. That sounds harsh, but I need you to feel it because it matters. When your dog is barking and lunging and completely locked onto a trigger, it is not being defiant. It is over threshold. That's the phrase, and it's worth understanding in plain language. Over threshold means the thinking part of your dog's brain has gone offline. The part that learns, that listens, that takes cues from you. It's shut down. What's running the show now is the survival system, fight or flight, flooded, reacting. When your German Shepherd is over threshold, you are not training your dog. You cannot train a flooded nervous system. You can only wait for it to come back down. Every correction, every leash pop, every frustrated word you give in that moment lands on a brain that literally cannot process it as a lesson. It just adds more pressure to an already overloaded system. This is where people get surprised. The work of reactivity doesn't happen at 10 feet. It happens at 60. It happens at the distance where your puppy can still think, still eat, still glance at the trigger and then look back at you. That's the workable zone. That's where your dog's brain is online and capable of learning something new. So when you see a dog ahead, and your stomach drops, and every instinct says get past it quickly, the smarter move is almost always the opposite. Create distance. Give your puppy room to watch from a place of safety. Let the trigger stay boring. Because here's the concrete image I want you to carry. A quiet street that used to feel quiet, until you got a reactive dog, and suddenly every corner is an ambush waiting to happen. Distance is how you make the street quiet again. Not all at once, but shrinking the safe distance, foot by foot, week by week, is the actual work. A tight leash, dragging your puppy past a trigger it isn't ready for, teaches your puppy that walks are stressful and that you don't listen. Distance, used wisely, teaches your puppy that the world stays safe and that you've got the situation handled. Distance is information. Learn to read it. And that leads directly to something happening at the other end of your leash. Your nervous system is traveling down the leash. This is the fourth truth, and it's the one that stings a little, because it points back at us. Your German Shepherd is one of the most emotionally perceptive animals you will ever share your life with. This is a breed developed to read handlers, to work in partnership, to pick up on the smallest shift in a person's body and mood. That gift doesn't switch off on a walk. It's running constantly. So when you see a dog ahead and your breath catches and your hand tightens on the leash and your shoulders climb toward your ears, your dog feels every bit of that. You tightened the leash before your puppy did anything. You held your breath. Your whole body said, something bad is coming. And your puppy, who trusts you to interpret the world, took that signal seriously. If the leader is bracing, there must be a threat. You didn't mean to. You were trying to prevent a reaction, but you may have announced one instead. That tight leash becomes part of the trigger itself. Over time, your dog stops needing to see the other dog to react. It just needs to feel your body change. The leash goes taut, your posture stiffens, and the dog thinks, "Here it comes," and lights up, sometimes before the trigger is even in view. Now think about how this compounds with a young puppy. Every walk where you tense up, brace, and rush past something, you're not just failing to help. You're actively teaching your puppy that these situations are emergencies. You're calibrating that nervous system toward the world is dangerous, one anxious walk at a time. That's the part most people miss. You are not a neutral observer holding the leash. You are half of the conversation, maybe more than half. Here's the flip side, and it's genuinely good news. If your tension travels down the leash, so does your calm. A relaxed hand, a slow breath, an easy pace. Your body language saying, "I see that dog, and it's not a problem." Your puppy reads that too. And a young, still forming nervous system will absolutely borrow confidence from a calm handler. Calm is not something you produce in the middle of a crisis. You cannot fake it once your dog is already spiraling. Calm is trained before the crisis, in your body, in your habits, in the hundreds of quiet moments where you practice keeping a loose leash and an easy breath, even when a trigger appears. So part of helping your German Shepherd is honestly checking yourself. When did the leash tighten? When did you hold your breath? When did you spot the trigger and brace? Because your puppy is learning from your nervous system every bit as much as from the trash bin or the skateboard or the stranger. You can look calm and still be broadcasting fear through your hands. Your dog reads the hands, and that's the hard truth. Now let me show you why doing all the right training still doesn't fix reactivity on its own. Obedience is not emotional control. This is the fifth truth, and it trips up some of the most dedicated owners I've ever met. You did everything right on paper. You taught sit, you taught down, you taught a beautiful heel in the backyard. Your puppy has a solid recall in the living room. You put in the work. You're proud of that dog, and you should be. Then a trigger shows up on a walk, and every one of those commands evaporates. You say sit, nothing. You say, look at me, nothing. You've got treats your dog would sell its soul for on a normal day, and it won't even glance at them. It's like your dog has never heard a command in its life. You feel embarrassed, maybe a little betrayed. All that training, and it's useless when you actually need it. Here's what's really going on. Obedience is a thinking brain skill. Sit, down, heel, look. Those all live in the part of the brain that plans and processes and chooses. And we already talked about what happens to that part of the brain when your dog goes over threshold. It goes offline, flooded, gone. You're not asking a disobedient dog to sit. You're asking a flooded nervous system to do calculus. It can't. Not because it won't, but because the machinery for it is temporarily shut down. That sounds discouraging. It shouldn't be, because it points you at the real target. Reactivity is not an obedience problem. It's an emotional regulation problem. The question isn't, how do I make my dog obey when it's freaking out? The question is, how do I keep my dog from freaking out in the first place? And how do I help it recover faster when it does? Those are completely different projects. And this is why owners who pour endless energy into more commands, more drills, more precision, sometimes see no change in the reactivity at all. They're strengthening a skill that isn't the problem. Now here's the part that surprises people most. The single most valuable thing you can teach a reactive German Shepherd is not a command. It's the ability to disengage. To look at a trigger and then choose, on its own, to look away. To glance at the scary thing and turn back to you. That tiny act of turning away is worth more than a perfect sit-stay, because it's proof the emotional brain is still in the driver's seat. A dog that can disengage is not a weak dog. It's not a dog that lost a staring contest. It's a dog that has learned it doesn't have to respond to everything it notices. For a breed built to notice everything, that is an enormous, hard-won skill. And it's a skill you build in the workable zone we talked about. At a safe distance, where the thinking brain is still online, one calm glance in return at a time. Obedience is what your dog does when it's calm. Emotional control is what keeps your dog calm in the first place. Don't confuse the two. Train both, but know which one actually fixes reactivity. And that brings me to the one that surprises people most. Every explosion makes the next one easier. This is the sixth truth, and it's the reason time is not on your side if you keep letting reactions happen. People imagine reactivity burns itself out, that if the dog barks and lunges enough times, it'll eventually get it out of its system and calm down. The opposite is true. Every single time your dog goes over threshold and explodes, it gets a little bit better at exploding. Let me explain the mechanism because it matters. When your German Shepherd barks and lunges at a dog across the street, and that dog eventually moves away, which it always does because dogs and people keep walking, your dog's brain draws a conclusion. I barked, I lunged, the threat left. It worked. Your dog doesn't know the other dog was leaving anyway. From inside that flooded nervous system, the explosion looks like it caused the relief. And behavior that appears to work gets stronger, every time. So the barking isn't just a symptom anymore, it's a strategy. A rehearsed, reinforced, increasingly automatic strategy. The pathway gets deeper and faster with every repetition, like a trail getting worn into grass. The first few times, the dog had to think about it. After enough reps, it's a reflex. Trigger appears, explosion fires, before any thinking happens at all. This is why an adolescent shepherd who's been allowed to react at the window for months becomes so much harder to help than a puppy who's reacted a handful of times. It's not that the adolescent is more stubborn. It's that the behavior is more practiced, more grooved, more automatic. Picture it. The adolescent that patients the living room, exhausted from a stressful walk, body tired but nervous system still lit up, still scanning, unable to settle. Or the dog at the front window, front paws lifting off the floor with the force of each bark, patrolling the glass, rehearsing the same explosion at every passerby, dozens of times a day, getting fluent in it. That window? That's a training ground. Every bark at every mail carrier is a rep. And your dog is putting in more practice hours at reactivity than most owners put into training. This is where reactivity becomes real. Because it means management is not optional, and it's not failure. Every reaction you prevent, by crossing the street, by turning around, by blocking the window, by keeping distance, is a rep your dog didn't get to practice. You're not avoiding the problem, you're starving it. I know it can feel like giving up, like a real dog owner would push through and confront the trigger head-on. Throw that idea out. Confronting the trigger before your dog is ready just gives it another explosion to rehearse. Managing the environment so your dog can't rehearse is some of the most skilled, intentional dog handling there is. Management is not failure. Management is how you stop making the problem worse while you do the real work at a safe distance. And here's what all of that actually means. You are always training your dog. On every walk, at every window, in every moment near a trigger. The only question is whether you're training calm or training the explosion. There is no neutral. So let me tell you the thing you actually came here to hear. Your German Shepherd is not broken. If you have a puppy, you have not missed some magic deadline. The window matters, but it is not a guillotine. The brain keeps learning long after 16 weeks. It just learns a little slower, and it needs you to be more thoughtful. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are, and you can start doing this right today. If you have an adolescent who used to be fine, Your dog didn't betray you and didn't become a bad dog overnight. Your dog grew into the size and confidence to express feelings it always had. What changed was the body, not the soul. And an adolescent nervous system, wild as it feels right now, is still forming. You still have real influence. If you're looking back with guilt, wondering if you did this to your dog, stop carrying that. You did what you knew with the information you had, the same as every good owner. Guilt doesn't help your dog. Understanding does. And now, you understand. Here's what I want you to really take in. The goal was never to crush your German Shepherd's intensity. That awareness, that sensitivity, that deep drive to notice and care about the world, that's the breed. That's the magnificence of this dog. You don't want to erase it. The goal is to teach your dog how to live inside that intensity without being overwhelmed by it, to feel the world deeply and still choose calm, to notice the trigger and still turn back to you, to be everything a German Shepherd is and be safe to live with too. That's not a smaller dog. That's a whole dog. And it's built the same way the Reactivity was built. One experience at a time. One calm bench at 40 feet. One loose leash. One glance away from a trigger. One explosion prevented. One quiet walk that used to be impossible. It's slow. It's not a quick fix. And anyone promising you one is lying. But it is real, and it compounds in your favor exactly the way the bad reps compounded against you. Now, one honest note, because you deserve straight talk. Not every reactive dog becomes friends with every dog and every person, and that's okay. Some German Shepherds will always need space, structure, and careful management, and a dog that needs those things is not a failure. It's just a dog that knows its own limits. And if your dog has bitten, tried to bite, redirected onto you, or gotten to a place where you can't safely control it, please bring in a qualified trainer or a veterinary behavior professional. That's not defeat. That's responsible ownership, and it's what a good handler does. For most of you, though, the path forward is exactly what we talked about. Read the distance. Watch your own hands. Protect the nervous system. Prevent the rehearsal. Build the calm before the crisis. Reward the disengagement. Be patient with the age your dog actually is. If this reframed how you see your dog, if you're looking at that barking at the window or that freeze at the end of the driveway differently now, do one thing for me. Subscribe. Because I make these for the people who choose to understand the dog behind the reaction, instead of just reacting back. That's a different kind of owner, and your German Shepherd is lucky to have one. You didn't miss your window. You just found out what it was really for. If you love German Shepherds and want to understand them better, stay with us. Watch the next video on screen now, and don't forget to subscribe to the German Shepherd channel for more training tips, behavior insights, and loyal moments with this incredible breed. See you in the next one.